Welcome back to Media7. If most of the news about the Rugby World Cup has been focused on what's happened in the games, on Auckland's waterfront and around Dan Carter's poor, sore groin, there is actually more on than that. Jose Barbosa looks at some of the offerings of the tournament's cultural side dish, the Real New Zealand Festival.
As you'd expect, there's all sorts of multimedia surrounding the Rugby World Cup, and a lot of it is directed towards the intrepid tourist. For example, this is the Insider's Guide app to downtown Auckland. Using it, you can find out where Auckland's fashionistas and Hamish Keith like to hang out. All of which is only slightly more interesting than the online version's realistic page-turning action. I mean, look at that. Far out. But in the lead up to the end times, it became apparent that overseas visitors to the Cup were also booking trips outside of the main centres. So the Real New Zealand Festival was created to capitalise on increased visitor numbers. Okay, so this is the Real New Zealand Festival route planner, and it's using Google Maps. So what you do is you go, oh, I'm travelling from Auckland to, let's say, Hamilton. Enter, and it maps out your route for you, and it also maps out the certain events that are happening in the festival along the route. So for example here, clicking here, you can learn about the 2011 Junior World Cup tournament. They look like they're having fun. Or even bar races, sheep racing carnival. Something else that's been developed in time for the Cup is this Ministry of Culture and Heritage project, Roadside Stories. It's like a museum audio tour, except it's for the whole country. So for example, as you're driving over the Auckland Harbour Bridge, you can learn exactly how much of a health and safety nightmare it was in the making.
There were no harnesses or other safety equipment for the workers. Men simply dangled from cranes and clung to the ends of girders as the bridge was built.
There's even an audio tour for Huntly.
Crown Lynn Pottery sourced some of its clay from Huntly, and it was said that only these, ants and cockroaches would survive a nuclear holocaust.
I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed though, because no mention is made of New Zealand's last remaining Decker sign over there. I don't know, I must be crazy. I guess I'm the only person in the country that cares about New Zealand's history of offering branded convenience goods at discounted prices. I mean, clearly I am, because nobody else gives a f***ing damn. And why does this look like the Ark of the Covenant? The audio tour dwells reasonably deeply into the country's history. And one of the reasons I really like it is that it doesn't attempt to sanitise that history at all. For example, this is a reading from a 1926 editorial in the Franklin Times.
The serious danger with which civilization is threatened does not come from actual savages. The peril is from those dark-skinned races which have long ago put on a thin veneer of semi-civilization.
Curious tourists also get a crash course in our film history through stuff like this NZ on-screen container on the Wellington waterfront. So the Cup is also a multimedia event, and as we've seen, there's some pretty innovative stuff out there to help tourists get the sense that this country is not just about rugby.
Tonight, Carter's anguish.
Groin tear.
Groin tore so badly.
The longest tendon.
Groin.
Grabbing at his thigh.
I honestly didn't know what happened.
A hobbling hero of sorts.
Jose Barbosa there asking what's wrong with Huntly. Well, we know what's wrong with Dan Carter's groin, don't we? I'm joined now by historian and general editor of Te Ara, the Encyclopedia of New Zealand, Jock Phillips. As part of the Real New Zealand Festival, he's been on the road writing Insider, a blog about what's happening away from the national media focus. Welcome, Jock.
Good evening, Russell.
How is it out there?
It's fun. People are having a ball. I mean, the interesting thing is that all that energy has gone into showing off the country in as wide and as varied and as interesting a way as possible, with the assumption that the people who would enjoy it was the hundreds of thousands of foreigners who came here. But actually what's happened is that the hundreds and thousands of foreigners turn out to be people who are travelling in their camper vans, they're staying in camping grounds, they're basically interested in singing songs on the bus to the games and drinking a lot of beer, and the people who've really been enjoying the festival are people like you and me, are Kiwis, and they have been enjoying it. They've been having a ball. We've almost been having a sort of great big party which has extended also into a lot of cultural richness.
People are making their own fun, I take it.
people are making their own fun, but an awful lot of communities right through the country have put an amazing amount of creativity into exhibitions, into events, into music shows, and it's a great time to be travelling around the country. It really is.
So this is places where the games aren't even on. Are they engaged with the rugby itself, or because they like the idea of this festival, this party?
Well, to take a place like Wanganui, I mean, Wanganui's got no games. What they've done there is they normally have a thing called Wanganui in Bloom. So they've got these structures right up the main street, which are containers where all the flowers normally grow in the midsummer. But it isn't midsummer now. So what happened was all the schools got together and have put together these amazing paperwork constructions right up the main street of Wanganui. Now, I don't think there's going to be a lot of overseas rugby tourists going to Wanganui.
Happening to go that way.
No, but if you're in Wanganui at the moment, it's really worth having a look at, and the place has got a buzz.
Because I have to say, I was surprised at how much of that stuff you found reading the blog. Were you surprised at what was going on out there?
Well, I knew just looking at the festival, you know, the Real New Zealand Festival website, that was an incredible number of things happening. I mean, today in Wellington, when I looked at what was happening, there was something like 55 events listed. You know, there's over 2,000 events happening in New Zealand over the whole of the World Cup. So people have put an incredible amount of energy and creativity into it. But what's interested me really is how ordinary New Zealanders have responded to the whole thing. And it depends a little bit on the quality. I mean, I've seen an awful lot of rugby exhibitions, and you get a little bit tired of, you know, Christian Cullen's mouthguard and old programs and old pairs of socks and so forth. But some of them have been really good. I mean, the one in Hamilton is a wonderful exhibition about Waikato rugby. Was there a sense there for you personally? But you're a historian. Historians are supposed to sit in Wellington reading books. Was there a sense for you personally that it was good for you to go out and actually see a historic event as it's unfolding? Well, I hate to sort of draw on the sort of World Cup slogan, but that slogan, witnessing history, it's priceless. I mean, I was really interested in the way New Zealanders tried to present themselves to the world. You know, what was it that they were going to put forward, and how are we going to be represented? And I was really interested in that question, what it said of us as a people. What were the things that we chose to present to the world? And I've been really impressed by the creativity of the place. So what comes next? How many more blog posts do you have to write? Well, I've been trying to do a post a day. I'm going to go to the end of the Cup. I'm going to go to Christchurch for a week, because one of the things that hit me when I was in Dunedin was I met a couple of people from Christchurch who'd travelled down to Dunedin to get the buzz of what it was like on a match day. Because, you know, a match day in these small communities is really quite interesting. And I felt at the time they said, we are really missing out. So I thought it would be quite nice to go down to Christchurch and get a sense of that. I'll come back up to Auckland for the final week, and then I think I'll sort of retire and have a big long rest. I think you'll deserve it by then. Well, best of luck with the rest of it, and thanks for the dispatches, and safe travels as well out there on the road. Thanks again to Nick Kabrilovich and Ben Gracewood, and to you for watching. We'll be back with Media7 at the same time next week. Until then, goodbye.